Alright, so here I got a battle against a dude, and I'm using a different team. This time, I'm using a kind of a rain team, but I kind of don't like this team because it's got bulky Polytoad, the standard Toxic Protect. It's got a substitute Toxic Tentacruel, which I guess is okay. It's got a Resto Chesto Ferrothorn, that's pretty good. Genesec's pretty good. Dugtrio is the worst piece of shit of all time. I fucking hate Dugtrio. It never does shit. And then I got a fucking threat, Tornadus. So the reason I don't really like this team is because one, Rotom shits on it, and two, I'm not really a fan of using Toxic too much because generally I like to bring shit in and kill something. I don't really like to wait for that bitch to die on its own. So probably not gonna be seeing too much of this team, but I figured you might be kind of bored of the other team I've been using. Not that I give a fuck what you think, but yeah, lol. So the other dude, he's using some threats, man. He's got a bunch of fucking threats on his team. He's got Genesect, he got Salamence, Latios, fucking Landorus. Metagross isn't too threatening, but it can take hits, and it's always gonna be there. It's gonna be pretty annoying, and it hits pretty hard. But yeah, it's funny how things change in meta games and stuff, because Metagross isn't really too much of a threat, which is kind of sad because Metagross is pretty cool. Then he's got Deoxys, which is gonna be his main spike thingy user, set entry hazards and shit. So pretty much gonna lead off with Polytoad to get off my rain as soon as possible, since I'm gonna need Tentacruel to be taking a lot of hits, and I'm gonna need Ferrothorn to not get fucking wrecked with some HP fires and fire blasts and fucking flamethrowers. So yeah, let's see how this shit goes. I'm gonna send out Polytoad like I said I was, and he's gonna decide to lead off with his Genesect. So it's pretty good for him, not very good for me because I don't really want to take a Thunder. So I'm just gonna switch out to my Dugtrio. No, I'm not. That's the second turn. I'm gonna use for Protect just to see if he's Scarfed. He might be like Specs or Scarfed. So I want to see what the fuck he locks himself into. So I figured he's probably gonna be choiced in some way or another. So I'm gonna go into Dugtrio, hoping he'll be stupid and go for another Thunderbolt. Then I could trap him and get a fucking easy ass KO. But turns out he's probably a little better than that since he goes for the U-turn. Pretty good information for me since now I know his shit isn't Scarfed, but Dugtrio fails to fucking die. Right there, I know I could have switched out to Tentacruel or Polytoad to take the obvious bullet punch, but I thought he might predict that and go for Stealth Rock, which was kind of stupid actually since this dude is obviously his Stealth Rock user, but I figured maybe he'd only have spikes on this dude. So I'm going to go for a Toxic on this Deoxys, which is pretty much going to help me a lot since it's going to reduce its longevity by a shitload, and it's also gonna allow me to go to my Tentacruel pretty much as many times as I want to, since Deoxys, even though it's a psychic type and it could potentially hit me with some stab psychic attacks, it generally doesn't run any attacks. Maybe Ice Beam, maybe HP Fire, but yeah, like I said, generally it doesn't really run attacks. It runs like entry hazards, then recover, and I don't know, some shit. But I'm not too worried because I know I can set up a sub on that thing and spin away his hazards. But first I'm gonna go for a Scowl, trying to get some burn offs on something. And he brings in Latios, which is a pretty good switch in for him since he's gonna force me out with some Thunderbolts or Psychic or Psyshock or Draco Meteors or anything really, because I can't really do shit to him. So I'm gonna take the opportunity to go for a Psychic. Probably maybe the burn would have been more beneficial to me in the long run, but the burn isn't guaranteed, so I figured I might as well get up a Toxic on it. So I'm not seeing any leftovers or life orb or anything, so I know it's probably not gonna be Calm Mind. I'm thinking it's Choice, maybe Choice Scarf by the look of it, and since his Genesect wasn't Scarfed, I'm assuming Latios is Scarf, so I'm going to bring in my Ferrothorn to resist some shit, and I figured he'd go into Metagross actually, but he decides to go into Genesect, so I knew he would switch, but I guess his Genesect pretty much the same shit as Metagross since it was gonna resist both of my main attacks, and they'll be able to do a fuckload of damage to me. So this Polytoad, it's already Toxic. He's already got up a shitload of hazards, so the only thing I might need it for is to take a hit from Metagross and try to burn that bitch. So I'm just gonna leave Polytoad in here and try to survive an attack and then fire off a burn, which I do, and luckily I do get the burn. So here I kind of make a misplay, but it actually wasn't a misplay. Is that it was actually being really pro on my part, because since I went for the protect, which kind of looked like a misplay since he had life orb, and now he doesn't take any life orb damage, but he does take burn damage, and he's also forced to stay in here, and he can't really switch because I think I got up hazards. If not, I don't know. But in any case, I send out my threat, gonna go for a U-turn since it's obviously gonna kill at that point, and I'm gonna go into my own Genesect as he brings in this Deoxys, and I believe I go for a Bug Buzz trying to kill this piece of shit, but he opts to go for some spikes, and I'm not gonna try to kill it again. I'm gonna switch out, since I know if I go for the Bug Buzz, he's gonna bring in Landorus and he's gonna threaten me with some earthquakes and some, you know, it's just a Landorus. I don't want that shit to come in for free. So I'm gonna go into my Tentacruel. Like I said, I could do this all day long. I'm gonna set up subs on this thing, and he's gonna have to force the switch, and I will be able to eventually spin away all the hazards, which his Deoxys has been doing the whole match. So again, like I said, I'm gonna substitute, and he's gonna bring in Latios. Why the fuck did it slow down randomly? I don't know, but he's gonna bring in Latios, gets hurt by some poison, and break my sub. And again, I'm gonna go for the rapid spin, as I've said like 8 times already. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get out of there again. I kind of don't really want this dude to predict me, because I have been making some very obvious moves repeatedly, such as going into my Ferrothorn and all that shit. But this time I figured he might go into Landorus, predicting my Ferrothorn or something like that. So instead of going to Ferrothorn, I'm gonna go into this guy Genesect, because I don't know, it'll resist the side shock and it'll force him out. And I'm gonna go for the U-turn. Didn't really want to kill this Deoxys because I wanted to bring in something else. I wanted to bring in my threat, my fucking, what's it called, the Hurricaneatus. God damn, Tornadus. I want to bring in Tornadus and then U-turn and then go back again into my Genesect, which is what I planned, but I killed that fucking Deoxys, so that's not going to be any good. Anyway, he brings in his Latios, and he brings it in on my Tornadus, so I'm pretty sure it's Scarfed. I'm like 100% sure it's Scarfed. So I'm going to go into Ferrothorn as he gets a crit with the Draco Meteor, which really kind of doesn't suck too much since I am running that CB, that Chesto Berry. This name plays mind games, man, because people don't see leftovers and then they see the name, so they assume it's Choice Banded, but it's actually, the CB doesn't stand for Choice Band, it stands for Chesto Berry, so LOL mind games. So I believe he misses a Fire Blast there, and allows me to get off some major damage on the Salamence, which is going to help me quite a bit. So I was expecting another Fire Blast, and I went into this Tornadus dude, and he goes to Metagross, which has been pretty annoying because it's pretty much been stopping me from spamming Ice Beam with my Genesect. So I wanted to go for the Choice Specs Focus Blast, not kill it, and then bring into Revenge. But he decides to go for Explosion, so that was pretty weird. He told me he didn't want to miss not Focus Blast, fucking Meteor Match, so that's why he exploded. But whatever, I'm not complaining. I was expecting to die anyway, so I don't give a fuck. So he's gonna go into Landorus. I'm gonna 2-hit KO him with some Gyro Ball action going on, and he's gonna bring in Salamence. And at this point, I kind of need to sack something, but I don't want to let Ferrothorn die, since I know his Latios is gonna be forced to lock himself into something. So I assumed I don't know. I just needed Ferrothorn alive because it resists his main moves that I've seen so far. So yeah, I let Tentacruel die, and now that leaves me free to bring in Genesect. I was kind of worried about this guy being Scarfed as well, since I haven't seen the item, but he's probably running the Dragon Dance set with Lumberry. So my Scarf Genesect is going to be able to outspeed and kill him off with the Ice Beam, and he brings in his Latios here, confirming that he is indeed Choice Scarfed, which is what I suspected all along. But he locks himself into Surf, which, I don't know, maybe he should have done Draco Meteor, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, he was fucked. So that miss on Fire Blast that he did with Salamence, that kind of mattered a little, but if you don't want to miss, use Ember, bitch. So that's the game. I'm gonna go for a rest just to make the turn one, just to make the battle one turn longer, just to make the turn one battle longer. Wow, I'm fucking stupid. Anyway, that's the game for the second time. I've been really repetitive today. Comment, rate, all that shit. I'm out.